Roger, thanks for dropping by. First off, thanks for all the people who responded to my plea for help yesterday, or the day before, whenever it was. Yes, some useful stuff, some contradictions, but that's to be expected. I mean, in the orchid world, if you ask a room full of orchid growers how they feed their orchids, you will get a different answer from every one of them. And I suspect it's the same with bonsai people. Each person gets not set in their ways, but adjusted to the way they like to work and the consequences. So thanks for the help, useful. As a consequence, the Dishojo is not going to get repotted this year, and the Trident maples are going to get left where they are. The consensus is they're too far gone, the leaves have opened, and with deciduous trees you are liable to do some damage and weaken the tree quite badly. And I've seen a maple that was repotted as the extensions opened, and those extensions just wilted and they effectively died because the tree had lost its ability to hydrate and feed itself. The problem you've got with deciduous trees, all that stored energy through the winter comes up to push the buds out and form those first few leaves. Until those leaves are fully open, the tree can't photosynthesize, so it can't feed itself. So the only food it's got is what's contained within it and what it can get up through its roots. And if you've just wiped out the ability for anything to come up through the roots by messing them up, endearingly known as repotting, then it's not good. Right, this is the golden larch, so not true larch. They haven't been taken out of this pot since I got them. I believe that these were not very well rooted and just plonked in somewhere near it rather than anything else. Now this is, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get this out, quite honestly, because it's a daft shaped pot in my opinion. To have a pot with a rim that comes over the top and stops you lifting out what's in it just is a daft idea. I'm hoping that I might be able to push the whole thing out up through the holes, but I don't think that's going to work either. Nope. Right, so we will have to ease it away from the edge all the way round. I think it might come out as a single mass. I'm not sure. I don't think they're wired in or held in any shape or form. It's lifting away from the edges now, so hopefully it will lift out. There we go. Should lift out now. There we go. Right, so we get rid of that. I doubt if I shall ever use that again, quite honestly. Right, now we need to get these trees separated out because they're not going back as they are. Now, we have got reasonable root system there. It's not bad at all. So we'll gently have a go and see what happens. Starting at the top. Now obviously that was a very, very shallow pot, so these trees are very shallow rooted. The good thing about that is the roots should be heading away from the trunks, potentially to create a decent Navari sometime in the future, not now. Right, so there's the first one separated. Yeah, these look like these were air layers. See, the trunk below ground has just been chopped off. Well, that could never happen if the tree had been grown from a cutting or a seed. So these are air layers basically. I've not got a problem with that. Don't get me wrong, not got a problem with air layers. So that's our first one. Standing up in the corner. Naughty boy, don't stand in the corner. And then the next one This looks like it's got a long root heading off into the depths of the, again, a major chop underground, so air layer obviously. Now this one's got a lot more fibrous roots on it, and we're not going to be taking all of the soil off of those fibrous roots. So we'll leave that one like that. This one should just fall off because it's a smaller one. Yeah, that's not bad. Again, got some fibrous roots here. I think these are going to take to their repot quite well. I don't think there'll be a problem with these getting into some new media, as I don't go too mad. Right, so that leaves two. Oof. Right, again, lots of fibrous roots on this one, an awful lot. So now with larch, you know, Japanese larch, European larch, those type of larch, which this isn't, they are a deciduous conifer. Is this the same? Is this a deciduous conifer, or does this come into a different category, the golden larch? Anyway, some good roots on there. Some of them will probably have to come off. And the last one. See, now 5 trees isn't a good number for a forest, really. It's a bit short. I mean, I've always thought in my mind 7 is the minimum, really. We've got this fixation of odd numbers, but that's in the guidelines. You read it in any book. If you're going to do a forest, you need an odd number. It's strange, actually. Apparently there's a number above which the number of trees becomes irrelevant, because you won't count them. If there's 5, you'll go, oh, 5 trees. If there's 9, you'll probably go 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, there's 9 trees. If there's 15, you'll go, that's a lot of trees. And you won't bother counting them. So above a certain number, it doesn't matter whether it's odd or even, apparently. All these things that people say. Right, so that's got the trees out. The next thing I want to do, because I'm going to clear up the mess before I start repotting, the next thing I'm going to do is prune. And we'll take each tree in turn and have a look at it. Now that's a little tree, so that will go at the back. And what we'll do is we'll just take the branches back to a growth. And I'm going to go heavier on one side than the other side, so that it can be allowed to grow away from the trunk and not towards the centre of what will be the forest, the depth of the forest. So this side will be the side that faces in. We'll go back to there. Pruning at a repot is not a bad idea, on the grounds that you will have disturbed the roots, and by giving it a prune you're not putting so much strain on the roots that are left. Now I'm sure some people are going to say you should have a separate pair of scissors for doing your roots because the roots blunt them. Well, actually, as long as there's no grit all over the roots, it doesn't blunt them really. Right, so that's one. That will be a back tree, a tree at the back. Right, another small one, so this will be a back tree. This also needs to be an outside edge tree because it's got lower branches. And those lower branches I'm only going to take a bit off, just going to nip them, so that they can grow away from the forest. Let's have some width to the forest, not all height. This is only an initial prune. When I got this last year, it was these trees. It was heading into autumn really, so I just left them because I wanted all the autumn colour. Being greedy. Right. So again, the only thing I didn't do on the last one, which I'm certainly going to do on this one, is where the trunk chop was. it's got a real let's go out sideways. Now it would be nice if that didn't show. The only way that's not going to show is to face it to the back. So we will think of it as we're doing this. This one here, this trunk chop hasn't been done very well, so we're going to have another go at that. We've got a large bit sticking up with no growth on it, so we'll take that back. Just clean it up a little bit. Now again, for that to be hidden, we need the branches coming forward of it. There's another chop there that hasn't been done very well. Take that one off as well. Come on. I'm trying not to knock buds off, that's why I'm just going careful. I'm trying not to knock the buds off that are right next to the one I'm doing. Well, this one's actually broken, so that makes life easier. There we go, another one there. That's better. Just as well start out with them looking reasonable. Right, so we've got another one here that again has got an awful chop with branches coming out sideways, so we'll take it off. We'll take it off there, and of course this is going to give me an opportunity to use my new cut paste. I bought some cut paste from a reputable supplier, and the stuff I got was like putty. It didn't stick to anything. You could use it to fill up holes, yes, but the idea is to get it to stick on. So I've actually bought some of the proper stuff at great expense. Nonetheless, you know, it needed doing. There's my cat having a chat. The one that's left, the other one died. And this one is pining. They've been together nearly 19 years, so he's finding it difficult on his own. Right. Big twisty one there, don't that. Right, so you see the trunk chop on that one's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Right, there we go. Another little one. Quite an abrupt chop on this one as well, so we'll take that back a bit. And this one will have to come round this way, I think. Somehow. Right, take a bit off. Obviously by taking these tips off of these branches, the side shoots will come out quite quickly as well. It's, you know, it's growing on now, pushing on as it's spring and all that. So those side shoots should push out quite nicely and extend, rather than the end tip extending and the side shoots just sitting there as little side shoots. They should now all extend. Dead bits there and there. Now we're doing root wise. There you go, I'll do for that one. And the last one, this is the big one, so this is going to be a group of 3 and 2 with a path down the middle. A little forest walk going down through the middle. That's my plan. Oops, didn't do that one very well, did I? That's a bit better. I'll fill in a bit nicer now. So this one's going to be the very front tree. This will be the one farthest forward in the pot. When we get there. So this is the consequence of taking a leader out. The side shoots become proper branches with their own set of side shoots. So that's how you can thicken up quite quickly. Right, that'll do for the top. If that's going to be the front tree, I might let that branch go across the path into the other two on the other, what will be the other side. Right, I can picture what I'm going to do in my mind, but the main problem I've got is that although this pot's deeper than what they've come out of, I don't know whether it's going to be deep enough for these to be able to stand up on their own without being wired in, if you know what I mean, which I'm hoping to do. So the thing is, you get 2 holes in these pots, don't you? Well, you can get 4 wires in there, and 4 wires is probably not going to hold 5 trees any sense, is it? Right, so we'll clean this bit up. Cat's still crying out there. It's upsetting. Right, we'll get this cleaned up, and I've got a pot here. This pot had some internet bought trees in last year that were dead on arrival. I potted them up anyway, but they didn't grow, and so this pot's already prepared. It's already got its little mesh bits and its butterflies, because the dead trees were just taken out and the dirt brushed off. So that's what they're going in, and that gives them a lot greater depth that way. And obviously with a large tree at the front tapering away, there should be an impression of depth, and the path going from fat to thin all will be revealed. So I'll shut down for a bit while I have a bit of a clean up, and then we'll get potting. Right, let's see what we can do then. I've got a bucket of mix here. Oh, actually, come on, concentrate, Roger. I'm going to use this as crocking. This will eventually break down, but it takes an awful long time, and by then the trees may need repotting again anyway, so I don't worry too much about but what this stuff doesn't tend to do is clag up quickly. Now, true grit, no pun intended, you know, as in stones, would do a better job, but this is a cheap version. It's not Akadama. I wouldn't use Akadama's crocking, not at that price. It's a substitute, but it is baked clay. It's very hard, and it should last a reasonable amount of time. So that's what's going in there. And then my mix is pre-mixed. This is very, very gritty. You can hear it. Yeah, so that's what the trees are going to go in. And it's a very gritty mix. What's in there then? There's potting compost, regular peat-free potting compost. There's some John Innes number 2. That'll give it some nutrients and everything. The potting compost has probably got some in, but not much. And also that gives it a sort of soil additive. And then there's a hell of a load of grit and a load of that substitute Akadama stuff. Now, it's strange, when we pot a tree normally, we have a mound in the middle to sit our tree on. Well, in a pot that size, I can't see me creating 5 mounds very successfully. Nope. Right, so where's the big one? Do we start at the front or do we start at the back? Well, I think the front is what will determine the other trees. So we will start at the front with the largest tree. It's going to be slightly offset to the left. The front view will be there, yeah, so quite near the front, and I want that branch going over the top of where the other 2 trees will be. So that's where that one is going to go. I could do with being a bit higher up. I would say about there. Now, I'm hoping that a handful of this on top of the roots will hold it still, because I'm not wiring these in. Right, so that's that one. I shall probably promptly knock it over. Now I want the next biggest one, which is, it's difficult to say really, that's going to be that one. So that will be going the other side, and that will be set back a bit. So I'm just looking for the branches that will be going out to the left. So that one's going to go there. So slightly behind this one and slightly smaller and a bit higher up. Somewhere like that. I'm going to twist that one round a bit. Right, so there we go. So now on this side there's only going to be one more, and it needs to be a small one, a thin one. Let's put it that way, not necessarily small but thin, because there's only going to be two on this side. They won't be too close together, and this one I'm going to angle outwards. So that will give me my width. This one will be allowed to push some branches out that way, but this one I'm actually going to lean over that way to start with. So that's going to start its life leaning out the side of the pot. That will give me some width to the appearance. Stay. Do as you're told. Right. These will be adjusted. I'm just getting these rough now. I've now got two relatively thin ones. One is taller than the other. The taller one is going to go out sideways. About there. So again, that gives me my width, and relatively close compared with the other side to the big one up front. And then the smallest is going to go at the back, leaning in towards the centre. So that will be casting a shadow over my little path. Somewhere like that. Right. Let's see if we can get these to settle now. Roughly where I want them. Not exactly where I want them, roughly. And then we'll start getting this media down in between the roots. Where's my pokey stick? Okay, oh, there it is. I'm saying, who's stolen my absolutely vital piece of equipment? So we're not having Chinese tonight. Right, so this one, slightly pointing outwards and slightly pointing backwards, but not too much. This one has moved. I want this one, as I move one, the other one moves. But eventually I will have prodded down this down in between the roots, and they will start to settle, and then we can perhaps firm them in a bit better. Right, this one is pointing forward a little bit. Actually, I would still like that farther forward. Let's see if I can pull it a bit. Yeah, something like that. Quite amusing. We spend an awful lot, that's a rock, quite a lot of time making sure we poke all this down in between the roots. We put a hose on this, it'll be down between the roots. A flow of water will drag everything into the gaps and level everything out, and then half of your media will come over the top of the edge of the pot. Right, so I'm in a position now where I'm going to start making sure these are in firm, and hopefully their position will be now set. Right, now the problem I've got is I didn't bring my bag of grit up. To enable me to have a forest path heading off into the distance, first of all we need a hill for it to climb over and disappear into the distance, number one. And secondly, we need to top dress the pot with two different things. Otherwise the path won't show. So I'll just go and get my grit and then we'll finish off. Okay, I'm just going to finish my coffee before it's stone cold. Anyone who does YouTube videos, and I suspect a fair few of the people watching will do their own videos anyway, you nearly always start doing something and filming with a coffee, and you end up with half a cup of stone cold coffee because you forget it's there. Right, not a lot left. Right, so this grit is incredible. Well, it's not fine, but it's heavy. It's a very heavy based load of stones, and it's very good at stopping the media flying off the edge of the pot. It holds itself nicely when you water, which I like. It's also, when it's dry, it's actually got quite a nice colour. It's soaking wet at the moment. I've got a leak in the shed. Right, and then we get some of the pink stuff and make our little path, which will start off wide, head off over to the left, and then head back round to the right and over the hill. And we'll tidy that up a bit. So we start wide, get thinner as we progress through the wood, and then we bear round to the right and disappear over the hill. Something like that. I expect the first time I water it, it's going to upset the whole thing anyway. Right, I'll get the camera off and show you the perspective. That tree has moved. You tyke. That's a bit better. Right, I'll take the camera off and we'll have a look at it head on, if you know what I mean. Sorry if you're getting seasick. Tough. Right, so that's our front view. The idea being that I've got three trees following the curve of the path, so they curve round the way the path does. This one leans slightly forward, and this branch helps me form the arch over the top. This one's leaning slightly out, and these branches will be allowed to go out. This will give me my foliage at the back. And then over this side we've only got two, and they're almost in line but not quite. I could possibly move that one farther over there, but I'm happy with that like that. So this one will be allowed to push branches out sideways, as will this one, as well as backwards. And then we've got our little path giving us some perspective heading off into the distance. So there we go, that's a repot done, and those are golden larch. So we'll have a look at that when the foliage comes out proper. I've never seen golden larch before. When this arrived, I was quite surprised at what it actually looked like and how big the foliage was compared with normal larch. So it'll be interesting to see this open up, and obviously we will do some trimming to get a a nice dome shape to the whole thing, but let's get the thing growing first. Let's get some new roots active. You've got the concept of, at the moment, the roots aren't doing anything really. The foliage will push out, that will start to photosynthesize, push down into the tree and start roots growing, which then put more nutrients in at the base, which comes back up and pushes up, and so it goes on, up and down the trunk. So there we go, that's my little golden larch forest. I've just got my cut paste to put on. Oh, I'll get that and show you what I meant by proper stuff. Right, this is what I meant by proper stuff. When I first started bonsai, donkeys years ago, I was at Southampton Trees chatting to Colette. I think it was the time when I bought the two sister maples as 6-inch sticks in pots, and she was dealing with I think it was a Japanese, whatever the pale bark beech was anyway, and I loved the tree, it was absolutely gorgeous, and she was using this on where she'd cut some large branches, and I asked about what it was, and she said, well, it's Japanese cut paste, but I don't understand the writing on it, there's not an English word written on it. And she said it's the best that she's found, and she had a bit left in a tube, and she said, have that one, I'll start a new one. So she gave it to me, and that's what it looks like, and it's sticky, and it will stick to your finger, but it will also stick to your tree, and it doesn't leave gaps. That putty stuff that I was supplied with doesn't do the job. First of all, it doesn't stick, you know, it would just come off in the wind. And apparently this has got lots of hormones and stuff embedded in it that encourage the bark to grow back over and heal, and it keeps out infections and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure the other stuff does as well, but the fact that it doesn't stick, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't seal the wound. There's room for water and air to get round it. You won't get in underneath this stuff. It's well stuck. So that's what I meant by proper stuff. But it will mess your fingers up. And it doesn't wash off very nicely. What I usually do is find some dirt to wipe it in and rub it off like that, and it comes off. You notice I do everything by hand. I haven't got a little dolly, you know, Barbie doll scoop. I don't muss about with things like that. I use my hands. Gnarly old man hands, basically. But yeah, I don't use little scoops and little, you know, little diddy set of gardening tools and stuff like that. I just get on with it. So there we go. Golden larch, sort of forest, an attempt at a forest with 5 trees, which is not brilliant, but and give 6 months or so, when these have pushed out quite a lot of roots, these could be fine-tuned with wire. So you could actually use a piece of wire to pull a tree and then poke the media down again and set it in its new place. But for now, I'm happy with that. That's another one off the list. The list is still quite long, but thanks to your help with yesterday's video, the list has got shorter by some of them not going to get done now. So we'll leave it at that for today. Thanks for dropping by, and see you next time.